Welcome to episode 1 of the Lost Podcast. Today, this marks the first episode of the actual podcast. Up till now, I've just been doing vlogs and planning and things. This is the first episode of the podcast. I'm doing it by myself because I think the first episode by myself is a good idea. I can explain the concept, explain the vision, etc., etc., etc. I didn't want to bring on any guests because I don't want any biases or anything. I just want the first episode to be raw, just me talking, explaining exactly what my plan is. I need to get better at filming. I need to get better at being on camera. I need to get better at speaking. I need to be better at articulating my ideas, my words, just everything. And there's no better way than to just practice. And that goes for anything in life. Practice, practice, practice. I wanted to start off the podcast today. I'm going to try and not go crazy quick, not go crazy fast, just chill, have a chat to the camera and just see what I end up talking about. I wanted to start off with a few facts surrounding the kind of topic that I wanted to speak about, because obviously everyone can claim that something's a problem. Everyone can claim that they have their own opinions about something, but it's not, backed up by much if there's no facts surrounding what they're preaching. So I thought I'd start off with some facts to just kind of outline why this has affected me so much, and also why I've decided to, investigate this topic. So I said this in a previous vlog, but 9 in 10 young people believe their life is lacking purpose and meaning, which, to be honest, it doesn't overly surprise me. I feel like we live in a time when you kind of have the option to do pretty much anything you want. Obviously, it depends on your situation, but a lot of the Western world, whatever, has the ability and has the position to do anything they want, So it's overwhelming having that much to choose from. So I can't say I'm surprised. I mean, 9 in 10, 90%, that's kind of crazy. But, it's, yeah. I think in the past, young people haven't had a choice, which is why now, when we suddenly have a choice, it becomes so overwhelming. Another statistic, in the UK, 83% of Gen Z and 77% of millennials reported feeling pressure to reach traditional life milestones, such as owning a home and starting a family. This one, again, I'm not overly surprised. I feel like when we were younger, that was kind of pushed to be what everyone should strive for. Obviously, as well as getting a good job, etc. But yeah, part of me doesn't, I don't necessarily disagree with, chasing to own a home or starting a family or anything. Again, these are all topics I want to explore and get opinions on, and etc., etc., etc. Plus, everyone is different. So, but the pressure, I guess, is where the problem becomes. There shouldn't really be any pressure. But yeah, another statistic. Another one, a separate UK survey found that among 18 to 24-year-olds, 89% reported that anxiety interfered with their daily life to some extent. 89%. That's a lot. 18 to 24-year-olds. 89%. Again, almost 9 in 10. That's insane. Is that the world we live in now? Maybe. Is anxiety something that potentially has always been a thing? We just have now brought it up and given it a name and suggested that it's not normal. Maybe it's always been normal. I don't know. I don't know what my opinion would be on that. I think anxiety shouldn't be a thing if it's not warranted. But if it's warranted, I think it's very normal. It depends. Again, something I want to explore. I've personally struggled with it, so I'm not going to sit here and say I don't know how it feels or whatever. I absolutely do. But, in the UK, young adults, 18 to 30, reported that only 16% believe the education system definitely gives them the skills for a good quality life. This is one that I am very passionate about. So this is something I really, really want to dive into because, Yes. The education system. Wow. I think it's extremely flawed. I'll just be completely honest. I won't go into detail as to kind of why or what has led me to think that. I mean, it's not personally attacked me myself. I'm not, but to give a child their life's value on a piece of paper at 18, that just doesn't feel right. That doesn't set you up. I mean, 18, that's what, like maybe a fifth of your entire life. And not only that, it's the years that you are exploring what life is. You're exploring what this world is. You have no wisdom, and you're just being chucked into this system that can be so crushing. Anyway, so yeah, that's definitely want to go into that, because that one really annoys me, to be completely honest. So yeah, those are just some statistics to just kind of back the kind of topics and things that I want to explore. I think a lot of podcasts, I'm not going to, claim that the podcast world is unsaturated, because I know it is saturated. There are loads of podcasts in the world, and some of them are doing incredible. Some of them are, insanely massive, that only a decade of hard work would ever amount to what they've achieved. But I think this is a topic that isn't overly explored. Like, I know entrepreneurship, business, personal growth, philosophy is all very much talked about in the big podcasts. Like, I'm talking Diary of a CEO, Modern Wisdom, Joe Rogan, the big three. They do talk about these kind of things, but I want this one to dive deep into younger adults who are struggling to calculate what to do. Because I know I went through it. Like, when I was 15, like 14, 15, I thought, oh yeah, I'm going to start my first business and I'm going to make millions and I'm going to move to Dubai or Miami and buy a Lamborghini and life is sorted, and give my parents loads of money, etc., etc., etc. And that is sometimes what podcasts like that promote to be normal. Like, they don't ever really claim how unbelievably crazy some of those things are. And it just creates this feeling of doubt in a lot of people, and this feeling of confusion in a lot of people when they're, in the washing up room of a restaurant, washing dishes for £11 an hour, thinking, why am I here? Why aren't I somewhere else? Well, the reality is, someone has to wash the dishes, and not everyone can have everything. That's not to say that you can't lead a satisfying and happy and contented life. Absolutely not. If getting a Lamborghini and moving to Dubai is your life's goal, go for it. Absolutely go for it. I'm just not going to sit here and take either side, and I'm just going to sit here and say, I don't necessarily think the Lamborghini in Dubai will give you all your happiness, and I don't think washing dishes is the worst thing in the world. You have to look at every single side of the spectrum. And I feel like sometimes in the Western world that isn't really noticed. So yeah, that's kind of the topics of this. But the podcast will probably grow and it will probably adapt. I'm really interested in psychology. So I see that as a thing that potentially the podcast will morph into. I just find psychology so interesting. I think learning about what makes people do things and what makes people not do things is just so interesting to me, because every single day I look around at people and I calculate in my brain everything, like, why are they doing this? Why have they got this? Why are they wearing this? What's made them do this? Why is this one man running, a half marathon on a Monday morning? And why is this other man at the hot dog stand buying 2 hot dogs for himself, the exact same moment, the exact same age, the exact same time? What has led to both of these scenarios? So yeah, I think it will take a psychological twist maybe, or potentially it's just all intertwined. This feeling of being lost, this feeling of being confused. I mean, realistically, the bottom line is just psychology. It's all in your head. It's all psychologically, it's all psychological factors. It's all mental. So I think that's something that the podcast will just kind of naturally pick up. I'd also like to get some psychologists on. I mean, that would be extremely interesting. In terms of my personal experience, I don't want to go into this too much because, I don't think it's that relevant. I'm not here to try and ask for sympathy or whatever. I'm just here to voice my thoughts, voice my opinions, and get other people's opinions to hopefully benefit other people. That's all this is. And purely just interest. I think chasing wisdom, chasing knowledge, chasing that is just an element of life that is necessary to be contented. I think if you're not chasing anything, then that's when things really start to become an issue. But yeah, my personal experience, I had a very good upbringing, didn't have loads of money, but by all means was I far from, poor, like poverty. If I wanted something, my parents could usually, find the way to sort of afford it, or if I, needed anything, it wasn't an issue to find the money. So yeah, I had a very, very standard English, middle class, I would say, potentially upbringing, and yeah, I mean, currently, I'm in a decent position. I have, I can't complain basically. So when I reached, I was very, it's such a plain, there's nothing overly interesting. Like, I was a very normal student. I wasn't A grade. I wasn't the worst. I was very middle ground. I got I think it was like C's and B's in my GCSEs, or I guess they now like 5s and 6s, or 4s. I don't know what the numbers are anymore, but, and then I think I got 3 B's in my A-levels, but it was during COVID. So it was very much like teacher marked, and goodness knows what I would have done if I had to actually take an exam. So, be honest, I got quite lucky there. But yeah, I got 3 B's, pretty standard, maybe not standard. I think my A-levels went pretty well considering, for example, if I took the exams, I'm not sure I would have got the same. And I left school, wanted to travel, always wanted to travel. I mean, travel's, even now, is an extremely important part of my life. So I went to America for 3 months, did some traveling with my best friend, who's probably going to come on soon, hopefully, to the podcast. And yeah, I came back. And then ever since, really, all I've been pretty much doing since I got back from traveling is testing business ideas, as well as working and traveling. Those things. So for example, I tried a marketing agency with my friends. I've tried day trading. I've tried content creation, which I'm, still doing, but in different forms. For example, before, it was more like a videography business as opposed to making content for myself. I was doing a lot more stuff for other people with my skills, if that makes sense. In terms of work, all I've really been doing is hospitality. I started when I was 15, 16, and I'm 22 now, and I did 5 years in weddings, and now I'm working as a waiter in London, because I valued being in London. I could have stayed at home and I wouldn't have had to work as much to fund living at home, obviously, but I weighed up that being in London and moving out was more valuable to me and would make me feel more content than being at home. So that's where we are. I've always struggled with what to do. So this is how this links to the podcast. I've always struggled with what to do. I've always, at heart, not wanted to work underneath people because I think it can lead to some very, very interesting relationships. I think, yeah, it's an odd one. Again, I have my opinions, but I'm not going to go into it because no need. But when I do business with people, so for example, if in the past I've done, content for people, that relationship is good. They respect you for what you do. You respect them for the money they're going to pay you. You both work together. You both do a great job. And yeah, but anyway, that's a bit of a tangent. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. That's where I'm at. But yeah, I've always felt lost with what to do, which is why I've tried so many things. I've never, ever, ever, not once, even in school, considered, I want to be an investment banker, or I want to be a politician, or I want to be into finance, or I want to be a doctor, or I want to be a lawyer. That never really did much for me because I'm a very creative person. So I like to make things. I'm most satisfied when I make things. And I guess those kind of careers never jumped out at me. Neither of my parents did anything like that. So it's never really been something that I've kind of been pushed into at all. So yeah, I've never really necessarily been pushed into anything or whatever, ever, literally ever. I even considered the Royal Navy for a while, which, I think is a great career. If that's kind of your nature and that's kind of the way you are. There's certain people are those kind of people, they travel, they work hard, it's camaraderie, it's hard work, it's big commitments, very, very respectable decisions and commitments. So yeah, I considered that for a bit. But yeah, I've always in my heart thought, you know what, I want to be like an entrepreneur. I want to make my own businesses. But I don't think that stems from like the normal, like, I want loads of money and I need all these things and I want to be blah, blah, blah. And I want the best car and I want the freedom, blah, blah, blah. That's not where it stems from. I think, sorry, the lighting has probably changed a bit. Maybe I will show you guys why. But yes, as I was saying, what was I saying? Yeah, I don't think it's for the normal, like when people say, I want to be an entrepreneur or, I want to build a business or whatever, everyone immediately jumps to like, he wants to be rich, he wants to have all this, money and blah, 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 blah. And that's not the reason I consider calling myself an entrepreneur, wanting to be one. It's simply to make things. I think, if I had a job where I was making things and being very happy and contented with the things I was making and also gaining the respect for making those things, like even if I was in, a company and I was doing it under a company's name, but I was still feeling the sort of contentness of making such a thing, I think I'd be perfectly satisfied like that as well. That's not, I just personally want to take the route of entrepreneur and business myself and make it myself. So that's kind of where I want to head towards. And I think the first step in this incredibly crazy modern world is personal brand. So I think in pretty much any business now, if you think about it, you really think about it, personal brand is key, absolutely key. So yeah, that's kind of the step I'm taking. And, in terms of what, I want to bring to the world is peace of mind and just to help people, really. However that may be. I'm not really sure I've figured out exactly how I'm doing it yet or anything like that. But yeah. So that's kind of my personal story and my opinions and stuff. But I'm a very much I'm not a very one way or the other kind of person. Like I don't look at someone with the complete opposite opinion and think instantly, oh, well, I can't listen to them, they're wrong, get out. I think that we and everyone needs to be open to every single perspective and every single way of life and every single, opinion, basically. And that's why I think a podcast is the perfect situation where I can explore that, because you need to be open-minded. I mean, I have guests with completely different opinions and completely different sides of every single spectrum of argument and debate or whatever. And I think I'm perfect because I'm not going to get, annoyed by what people say. I'm not going to get uptight about it. I'm not going to jump in and say, you're wrong, I'm right, you're right. I'm very open-minded and I'm very, very middle ground with everything, So yeah, every single debate, every single argument always has two sides that you have to consider. And off of that, you can base where you want to lay yourself on the spectrum. But again, that's a side note. That's something we can explore in podcast, which is why I'm excited, because there's so many things I want to talk about and there's so many things I want to learn myself, that I think a podcast is perfect. Because every time, I listen to podcasts, I'm like, I just feel this sense of relatability that's so empowering, and it just makes me feel more contented, and that's kind of what I want to explore and what I want to do. Because yeah, I think a lot of podcasts are aimed in terms of, I'm talking like the big ones, I know there's like golf podcasts and football podcasts and goodness knows what else. But in terms of the big podcasts, I think they're quite aimed, they're not aimed for like 16-year-olds, they're not aimed for like 16 to 24. They're aimed at 24 and up, It's very much, sometimes I think they lose sight of the naiveties of younger people and the emotional situation of younger people, and it can sometimes confuse younger people, especially when they have a million choices of what they want to do and how they want to spend their time. So yes, that's my story, that's my opinion, and that's kind of what has led me to want to explore this. So yeah, in terms of the main goals for the podcast, I'm not going to do like, oh, hit this many subscribers or hit this blah, 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 because that's not entirely in my control. That's not something I can control. I can do my absolute best, and I will do my absolute best to control those factors, or I guess outcomes. But the things I can control are the main goals. So for example, I'm going to aim for 20 episodes. That's my first aim. I don't care if it takes me however long it takes me, but 20 episodes is the goal. And then, once I reach that goal, I can then go from there and see, adjust, see what's going on, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The main goal of the actual, what the viewer will benefit from is I want to explore, the experience of feeling lost in early adulthood and investigate why these feelings exist and offer insights and pathways, to help find satisfaction. Because everyone will sit there and go, oh, it's fine. Once you build your business and once you're rich, or once you reach that job that you've now got 6 figures in banking or whatever, you'll be happy and you've achieved your purpose. But then that's not sustainable. That's not sustainable advice. In my opinion, what you're better off doing is building the character, building the who you are, building understand yourself before figuring out where you want to go. Because if you can't figure yourself out, where you're heading there blind, basically. You're not heading there with clarity, you're heading there with confusion. And then once you get there, you're still confused. Nothing changes. You need to understand who you are, what you want to be, who you want to be, the type of person, all of that before you figure out where you're heading, in my opinion. Again, people may disagree with that, and that's okay. That's why we're here. I want to build a relatable community because, again, we're so divided in some ways. You have the people and I'm not saying people are preaching bad things. I'm just saying they're preaching very one-sided, because one-sided gets views. One-sided is what gets people's attention, whereas middle ground is never that exciting because it's the norm. So potentially I'm entering this this industry and this game with a very, very terrible plan. But you know what? I'm not going to try and be anything that I'm not. So yeah. I just want to help people understand themselves a bit better and give them achievable goals that can bring satisfaction to their life, because so many people preach these unachievable goals. For example, I was just watching another podcast actually, is Stephen Bartlett's most recent episode of Diary of the CEO. He had this businesswoman on, obviously very smart woman, but she was claiming that, Sarah, who walks her dog with a very satisfied job, very satisfying, regular, normal job that she's happy in, contented in. She has, a lovely family, good kids, spends her evening watching Netflix, chills, has a, relatively normal, nice house. She was claiming that this person can't be happy, which I just personally think is insanity. And I just think that, the 16-year-old version of me hearing that and listening to that is so damaging. That just distorts their reality by so much. It's like saying, you can't have fun playing a sport unless you're the best in the sport in the world. And it's it's just not true. I know plenty of people out there that are very satisfied in their life. They don't have much. They don't need much, and they're completely happy. And, there's nothing wrong with that, which is another thing. I'm not on here to be another one of those, you must be rich, you must be successful, you must be healthy and fit, and you must have the best family, and you must have the best. Life's not like that for anyone. Everyone's chasing. A lot of people are chasing that because it's human nature to chase these things. but it's just not realistic, and it's not necessary. Which is, for me, like even for me, for example, like, yeah, I'd say I'm a little bit out of the norm in terms of the fact that like there's a lot of things I want to do. I'm very like, but none of it is for the sake of other people. It's all just my internal battles that I want to win, I don't look at someone and go, I want to be richer than this person. What's the point? Why are you comparing? Just, I look at someone else and go, oh, this is what they do. This is what, these are the things that makes them happy. These are the things that doesn't make them happy. These are the things that I do. This is what makes me happy. This is where I want to be. Doesn't matter if someone else doesn't want to be there, And that's that. And that's the end of the story. Everyone is different. Everyone is chasing different things. Why does it matter? And I just want to help people find more satisfaction in their own lives by not being overwhelmed by the opportunity, like the choices and the narratives that we're putting on kids. That's basically the goal. Oh, not necessarily kids, but you know what I mean, like young adults. Because it's something I've, struggled with. And I guess, I've said it and I repeat it all the time, but this sense of feeling lost and confused, of like, overwhelmed with so many choices, that's the absolute heart of the topic I want to explore. Because there's nothing wrong with feeling lost and confused. In fact, you're absolutely bound to be. If you are sat here watching this and you're, 15 and you know exactly what you want to do and absolutely nothing will change that, and you're contented with that, path and the work that it will take to reach that path, you've won, you don't. But I'm going to sit here and tell you that in my early adulthood as a 15-year-old, I felt these things, I felt, oh, this is it. I know exactly what I want. I want to be a day trader. Done. Life sorted. But then, you do it for however many months and you realize, you know what? I am miserable. I don't see a single human. I am lonely. I am bored. I don't want to do this. And then you're going back to feeling lost and confused. And that's okay. So, just find contentness in the daily activities and the daily goals. You don't have to get too wound up on the long term. Like, for example, I'll just give an example, and this is not me trying to gloat or whatever, or in any means, but I've always been a pretty terrible runner. Okay. Like I've always ran, like even as a kid, I played football, I played all sorts of sports, but I was always the kid that ran out of breath earliest. I'd get to halftime and I'm like, well, I am absolutely burnt out completely. I cannot do this anymore. Whereas everyone else is like completely fine, chilling. They've ran more than me and they're not even out of breath. They could do this another 3 to 4 times. So I've never been like a crazy, stamina monster or whatever you want to call it. And I've noticed that as a weakness and I've considered it, and I've since been running. And was it last year? Yeah, I think, 2024, I ran my first half marathon, and 2026, I've booked my first full marathon. And it's just kind of a little, goal of mine to reinforce the fact that I can do what I want to and I can do what I set out to. Like, I'm never, ever, 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 ever even going to get close to beating any records in running. I'm not built for it. It's not. I'm the opposite of built for it. Like, maybe not opposite. That's maybe a bit extreme, but I'm not a great runner. I don't have the genetics for it. I don't claim, I just don't. And that's okay. I just contented with completing it, beating, my thoughts of, oh, well, I don't need to run because I'm terrible. No, you still do it, still try and achieve these goals. You just accept that you're never going to be, I have friends that could not train for an entire year and they'd still run a quicker 10K than me, even though I train 2-3 times a week. It's just how it is. It's not, it's just normal. It's just, there are going to be people that are better than you and worse than you at other things. And that's just how it is. So yeah, also accept. Don't try and chase something that you already know in your heart you're not necessarily made for. I don't want it to limit you, because there are a lot of beliefs where, I'm not very good at this, but you actually are. Because, chase those things, of course. Just always be skeptical and always, think, where's my time best spent, So yeah, that was a bit of a tangent, but yeah. This isn't going to be like a massive long podcast episode because, it's just me. And we're not, going into too much, but I just kind of wanted to explain, my thoughts, my goals, my actions and stuff. And I know for now, I'm not going to be able to invest crazy amounts of money into the podcast because, to be quite honest, I don't have much money. I don't have crazy savings. I don't have, loads of money left over each month. So going to work with what I have. That's all you can do. So yeah. Let's see. Let's do something fun. Let's write out a plan. Let's talk about a plan for the next steps because yeah, this is meant to be like a podcast episode, which it will be slightly different to normal, because I don't have a guest to think about topics, etc., and talk about topics, etc. So in terms of a plan, right? So 20 episodes, that's the absolute goal. I have potentially 5 or 6 people that have said yes. I just need to get them in the calendar. In terms of location, and I've been in contact with a few different podcast studios, but my goodness me, are they expensive. So for now, it's going to be very budget friendly, because wow. But that's okay. We'll work with it, in terms of content plan, I'm going to try and upload clips on Instagram of the podcast. I'm not going to create a separate Instagram just yet. I'm going to use my own personal account because it should lead to a better outreach. It's a bit more linked to my personal brand as opposed to this random podcast with 3 subscribers coming up on Instagram and trying to blah, 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 So it's better off if I just start off by using my own. Will I create a separate YouTube? I'm not sure. Potentially for now, I'll use the same YouTube account. I'm not sure. I need to think about that. I want to get a better vlogging camera because I want to make little vlogs, this is what I'm doing, this is blah, 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 to, document everything. Because this whole big camera setup is fine when you're going to sit there and talk for an hour, but for any longer, it's not great. Any shorter, it's not great. Like if I want to do a quick little clip, it's just not ideal. So I need to work on doing that, getting one of, an easier vlog camera, but again, they're not cheap. And yeah, I need to figure out what guests I'm going to bring on to reach 20 episodes because I have ideas for guests, but they're not the level of guest that would come on to my podcast just yet because my podcast is too small. It's simple as. I'm not putting barriers. I'm not trying to put a barrier up, but it's just the reality of it. But that's okay. That's fine. I'm going to try my best and that's what we can work with. So yeah. But yeah, I would say I have about potentially 6 or 7 guests that is a maybe yes. A maybe yes to come on. I just want to end the podcast with a little piece of advice or, something to make whoever's watching potentially a little bit more contented. No one has everything figured out. In fact, it's quite the opposite. A lot of the people you see and you think they know exactly, they are who they are, potentially. But when they first started, they pretended to be what they wanted to be because that's how you start. And when you do things in life, when you go for a new job or you're going into school or, you're starting a new side hustle, you're starting a new anything, you have to pretend you are who you are because you aren't yet. That's the reality of it. And everyone who has started anything great has had to take that leap of, I am going to make myself this, even though I am not yet. But if I don't make myself be this, no one's going to believe me, and therefore I won't even be able to believe in myself. I have to believe I am who I am before anyone else can. If I believe I am who I am and I prove it and prove it and prove it, eventually you will be that person. It is literally anything in life. Any even just like the normal, regular, like, people who first start their first pub job, pouring pints, they have to at some point go, you know what? I'm the manager. I can be the manager. I know exactly how this all works. I know what to do. I know they have to then have the mental switch to turn that switch and go, you know what? I am no longer just an employee. I am the manager. And once that switch is turned in their own head, that's when everyone else around them can start believing it more, And after, a month or two of, I can be the manager. I'm the manager. You will have the confidence to go to whoever's above you and go, look, I know exactly how this works. I know every single pint we sell. I know every single drink we sell. I know exactly how to change everything. I turn on the lights. I open the pub. I close the pub. I know exactly how everything works. I'm a manager. You need to make me a manager because I'm the best. You won't find better. I don't care if they have 10 years of pub managing experience. I know this pub inside and out. I can be the manager. Make me the manager. I can do this. That is all stemmed from you going and changing your mental mindset to, I can do this and I will do this. It's all in the head. It's all in the head. And, a lot of people, they don't want to be a pub manager. I'm not, it's just an example. It can be anything, I am a runner. Have you ran any runs? No, not yet. But I'm a runner. Okay. Next day, 3K. Huh. Wow. I did it. I did 3K. Great. I'm a runner. The day after. I'll just do 2K today. My legs are feeling, that's fine. I don't need to push myself. A few days off. Okay. Wait, I just remembered. I'm a runner. Let's do this. 5K. Wow, I did 5K already? Wow. I can be a runner. I'm a runner. And eventually, a year down the line, you're signing up for your first marathon. Simple as that. You just have to be crazy enough to convince yourself you are who you are, to then be able to convince other people you are who you are. And I'm not saying it's as easy as that. There are some industries, for example, even in my previous endeavors, I was never a marketing agency, director. I have zero marketing experience in my life. I did not have the proof or these skills to back up that statement. And that's why I stopped. And that's why I didn't do it. Same as why I was never a day trader. And don't get me wrong, I really tried. But I never got to the point which I had the proof. I didn't have enough proof to myself that I was a day trader. And when you realize that you don't have enough proof to even tell yourself that you are something, you're best to just reconsider. And I'm not saying proof won't come. If you're a year in to whatever you're doing, whatever business you're doing, or whatever hobby you're doing, or whatever, maybe hobby's the wrong word, but whatever you're doing, whatever venture you're attempting, if you're a year in and you don't have the proof, that doesn't mean you should give up. I'm not saying give up. I'm not saying that isn't for you. I'm just saying if you personally feel I don't have the proof, I am who I say I am, and I can't really see that changing, then maybe potentially reconsider. But it can be something so random. Like, for example, for me, I guess, another random thing, I can speak Japanese. A week into Duolingo, I absolutely could not speak Japanese. But me saying I could has kept me going this entire time. And I absolutely am not anywhere near being able to be fluent in Japanese, but I'm a whole lot closer. Because I got to, week 1 and go, you know what, I've already learned half of one of the 3 alphabets. Week 2, I already know an entire alphabet of the 3. I can speak Japanese. I can see what these, words, I can see what these letters sound like. Week 4, week 5, I know half of the second alphabet now. Hang on. I'm like, I almost know 2 of the 3 alphabets. Month 6, I can say a few sentences to people and I know what this person is saying. Hang on, I can speak Japanese. And just me saying, I can, and providing yourself with the proof. Eventually you'll get there. It might take time. I mean, I am now a year and 2-ish. No, hang on. A year and 3 months into learning Japanese. And I would say I'm about halfway to where I want to be. So in Japanese, there's difficulties level from 1 to 5. And N1 is like you're a literal Japanese person. You are a native speaker. N5 is like you can speak some Japanese. My aim is N3. I want to be N3 is kind of like, okay, you're kind of fluent. I would say I'm about N4. So I'm like halfway. I'm halfway to where I want to be. A year and 3 months in. Now, obviously with priorities changing and stuff, it's going to be harder, but I'm not stopping. I'm not going to give up. I can speak Japanese, And I think that mindset of me saying I can do it, I am who that person, I am who I say I am, has led me to not stop and has led me to not give up. Because if I got to N5 and I watched this person, they were fluent and, they're 20 and I'm 22 and how is this 20-year-old speaking better than me? And I'll just stop. My time is better elsewhere. I would then have, just lost all that progress. But if you just slightly shift the mindset to, I am that person, I can speak Japanese. Yeah, fine. He's a bit more fluent than me, but he probably started a bit earlier than me. I can speak Japanese, so can he. Yeah, he can speak it a bit better, but I can speak Japanese. I speak Japanese. And give me a few years, I'll be there. That's a slight subtle mindset shift will lead to, more mini successes in your life. And that's just something I've, kind of discovered through, the last sort of 7 years of my life. And like, you really, really, really do just have to fake it till you make it. I just can't stress how prominent I see that quote in everyday life with everyone, literally everyone. Like I have, people in my life, I'm like, wow, that's so impressive. But then I see the internal cogs turning of like, I have the confidence. I am that person. And they just prove it and prove it and prove it until everyone is left starstruck with, well, he's undeniably that person. I can't deny it. He is that person. He is incredible. Yes, it may have taken 4 or 5 years to get to this point, but I cannot deny who this person is. Yeah, he might be 20 years younger than you, and you have to just look at them and go, he is literally that person. It's undeniable proof. And it just all started with him saying to himself, or her saying to herself, whoever it is, I am that person. And that's it. And that's how everything is started. Fake it till you make it. It's unbelievably true. And that's that. So I hope I wasn't ranting for too long and that, it was helpful to whoever's watching, even just if it just helped one person, that's enough for me. I'm contented I've, helped. I didn't mean to go off on tangents, but I do that. But that's kind of the nature of a podcast, which is why I think this suits me, because I do like to go off on tangents and I just love to speak about topics and I love to speak about things, which is why I think I'm so interested in psychology. So I think this is good. This is good for me. This suits me. And, the various videos I did with people, I've done videos with mainly people in Japan. I just realized in those moments, I just love talking, I don't need to go out and film the best sunset everyone's ever seen or the best. I just want to talk about things. I don't know if it's something I'm good at. I haven't reached that point to decide where, am I good at this or am I not? I don't know yet. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm practicing. So yeah, I hope I didn't rant for too long, and I hope, whatever I said was useful to you guys. And I'm excited. I'm really excited to start this. And yeah, the next episode will be with someone. I will be making it with someone. So it will be slightly different. It might be a different setup. It might be, whatever happens. But yes, I'm excited. And yeah, thank you for watching. And I will see you in the next episode. Thank you.